We have a couple of minutes till 6:30. We'll get started at 6:30.
Barry and Tricia, do you want me to go through the pre-meeting talking points?
Yes, please.
Yes, thanks, Will.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. If this is your first time joining us, you'll notice that everyone will remain muted throughout the entire meeting except for the committee co-chairs, Tricia and Barry, and our presenters. Following each presentation, the co-chairs will call on members of the public who wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon and pressing the raise hand button. Not the wave or the thumbs up, those will disappear. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling in from the phone, it's *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the co-chairs call on you. The chat is available for technical support only to help with the Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the co-chairs or presenters. They will not see those chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you will need to go to the participants section where you'll find the raise hand feature there. And finally, please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen. We might miss it and not be able to see you. So chat me if you cannot find the raise hand button in the reactions section, and we can help troubleshoot. With that, I'll hand it back over to the co-chairs.
Great.
Tricia, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tricia Shimamura. I am one half of the Parks and Waterfront Committee co-chair partnership with my colleague, Barry Schneider. And we're going to jump right into this. I am going to apologize beforehand because unfortunately, if our meeting goes past 8 o'clock, I'm going to have to remove myself, but hopefully we can hopefully get through most of these agenda items. And so we're going to just jump right in. The first item is a discussion of St. Catherine's Park and the impact that the proposed blood center development will have on the park. If you've been to any of our community board meetings recently, I'm sure that that most people understand that there is a 334-foot tower being proposed for the blood center at on 67th Street. This is not a discussion about the zoning aspects of it, but really about the impact that this proposal would have on St. Catherine's Park. The proposal is going through right now ULURP, and so we thought that it would be a good opportunity if this committee wants to pass a resolution on this. This would be now the time to do so. But I think that before we start, we have Elizabeth Dew here from Friends of St. Catherine's Park, who would like to provide us with some sort of statement. So I think I'll pass it off to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you could just state your name and your actual title, that would be great, and welcome.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Elizabeth Dew, and I'm the president of the board of the Friends of St. Catherine's Park. And I very much appreciate, on behalf of our board, also to be able to share our concerns about the project with your committee. We have discussed the proposed New York Blood Center project amongst our board extensively, and we've identified 3 issues and actually a new concern that we didn't raise at the last community board meeting that we wanted to share this evening. So the issues that we see regarding this project that impact the park and our concerns, the first one is increased park usage due to the 2,000 plus additional workers expected in the building, many of whom we undoubtedly believe would be using the park, and this is a major concern to us. St. Catherine's Park is already the second most visited park per square foot in New York City. Therefore, the increased visitors will have a dramatic impact on the park experience, along with the, excuse me, park maintenance and upkeep, such as garbage removal, bathroom cleaning, and pest control. In addition to that, the shadow studies that have been conducted in conjunction with this project show that shadows will be cast from the new building onto the park from March through September. We've received feedback from the parents in the community who think the shadows will detract from their children's play experience in the park. This concerns us because we want to make sure that the community enjoys their time visiting St. Catherine's. Light pollution is another concern of ours. From the interior and exterior lights of the building, it will cast artificial light on the park, with the biggest impact being during the evening of the summer months when the park is open later. We're concerned that this will also negatively impact the park experience for the community. We would like the Parks Department to work with the Blood Center as well as Longfellow to address our concerns. In addition, a new concern that has come up that we feel must be addressed is a question has been raised in the community. What has Friends of St. Catherine's Park been promised for their support of the New York Blood Center project? It has been said that our organization has acknowledged that the Blood Center promised a donation to the organization for plants and maintenance if their proposal was supported by our group. And I want to make it clear that the Friends group has never asked, nor have we received any consideration or donation or the promise of either from the New York Blood Center or from Longfellow. We hope that the New York Blood Center and Longfellow will address our concerns that we've raised and advise how they'll be handled. And very much appreciate you listening to the concerns that we have. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I need to go. I need to get onto another call for my son's school, but I very much appreciate your time.
So Elizabeth, how is the best way, should anybody have questions for you, how is the best way to get in contact with you, or how do we get those questions to you?
Patricia, may I interrupt you for a moment? I think the best way to handle a Parks Committee question is to address it to the board office, and we will forward it to Elizabeth in that manner. That's how we've handled all these kinds of things in other committees through the years, and I think that's the appropriate way to handle it here.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to say, so I'm not going to assume to know where this committee is going to go with this, but I would guess, I would think that we may want to end up doing a resolution tonight for this. So we'll go to, the only thing that I regret is that I don't have with me right this instant the shadow study itself, but Will, can you please do me a favor and put that link into the chat so that those who want to comment on that or want to take it and reference it can see it, and then we'll go to the public first for comments.
Yeah, Ben Kalos's site has a link that goes directly to it also.
It was just Elizabeth. It was just put up in the chat. So all everyone online at the Zoom meeting can go to the chat and download the location. Thank you, Elizabeth.
I see it. Great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Goodbye, Elizabeth.
Bye-bye.
I think Monette Marati is the first member of the public to speak.
Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
I just want to say that yesterday at the meeting, there were a lot of little kids who gave very heartfelt statements about what the park means to them. And I just want to say that I used to consider St. Catherine's Park, I used to call it my grandmother's park. You know, I still call it my grandmother's park sometimes, even though after I learned it's called St. Catherine. So to think that children would have such a negative opinion of St. Catherine's once the building is put up, it breaks my heart. And I don't want its reputation to be tarnished by this building, which they have no control over. But you as a community do have some control. So please just take my words into consideration.
Thank you so much, Monette. And then Allison Bell. Oh, I thought Allison Bell.
Allison Bell, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to say that I have tried to reach out to Friends of St. Catherine's Park for months and months and time again. And I'm really sad that Miss Dew could not stay to talk, because even last night on the community board meeting, Paul Selvar said they have been talking to the Friends of St. Catherine's Park. I do not think we are getting the full story from them. I don't think they have been responsive to the community. I don't think they speak for the community when they speak to the developer. And for me, it's really upsetting that there is no dialogue with them, nor do they let us even speak with them.
Mhm.
I think the impact on the park, her 3 concerns are valid, but I think it's even more than that. And they are also on the blood center site as being for it. So I am really confused by the Friends of St. Catherine's Park, and I really don't want to call them the Friends of St. Catherine's Park. Thank you.
So I'm just going to clarify it. So I do not, the community board does not control any of the friends groups, nor does the friends group speak for this community board. It's why we wanted to have the committee have its own say, and I believe pass its own resolution. But thank you again. And I'm taking notes down from everything that everybody is saying, so that when we pass a resolution on this, that we craft language that's really reflective of the comments that have been heard. And I'm sure Ms. Bell, you know that I was on the community board meeting all last night. So I took notes there too. Everything all of the testimony that was given last night has been heard by this board and will continue to be heard. And thank you for being here. It's a good moment to mention that if you have not given testimony on either the impacts of this development on St. Catherine's Park or the larger other aspects of this development, there's the transportation, JREC, the zoning implications of this, you can still do so through the 25th of March. And you can do so on the website, and Will, I'm sure, can put that link in there. But there is still plenty of time to provide testimony for this, but this is specifically on St. Catherine's Park. And thank you.
Not quite as much time as you indicated. You said March 25th. You meant May 25th.
May 25th. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't remember what month it is. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay. Marty, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry I skipped you. I'm sorry. I just saw Bell. So can we go to Marty Bell next? I apologize.
I want to expand upon what Allison Bell said, which is not only is Friends of St. Catherine's Park not open to communications, but I want to go on the record that they are not representative of the people who use the park. If you look at their website, there's 50 some odd pictures of the park, and it's all flowers and people handing out flowers. There isn't a picture on that website of children playing in the park, which is what anyone who goes to the park sees. You have to wait for the swings, and there's not a picture of the swings. If you go to their Instagram page, it talks about daffodils and pink roses. This park isn't about daffodils and pink roses. That may be what Friends of St. Catherine's is, but that's not what the huge majority of people who use that park are. It's 5 people. You don't know who elects them. It's a self-perpetuating organization. I've asked, are there meetings? There's nothing. There's no way. There is zero transparency with that group. They are not a spokesperson for the people using it. In fact, the Coalition Against the Blood Tower has people going out into the park, talking to the actual people who use it. And they've spoken to dozens and dozens of people, and it's unanimous against the blood center. So here's a group where Ms. Dew came to the last meeting of the zoning committee and said their board was split. The people who use the park, they must have spoken with, probably over 100 people now. Not one is saying, oh yeah, I want to be in shadows. They talk about the garbage, and that was their concern. The blood center, I'm sorry, in the draft environmental impact statement, it says that they're talking to the Friends of St. Catherine about vegetation, because that's their mitigation. There is no mitigation, zero, impossible mitigation for loss of sunlight. And the loss of sunlight, as the president of the PTA from 183 said, the lawyer for the blood center came and said, oh, it's only 70% of the park that's in shadow. Only 70%? And he said, it's only for 3 hours. The 3 hours are called, there's another word for those 3 hours. It's called afternoon. And that afternoon and that 70% of the park is when the people who have kids go there. That's the park, as I mentioned at the land use committee, where it was the only place I've been able to meet my grandson since he was born on May 1st because of the pandemic. And we go in the afternoons and we enjoy sitting out in the sunlight. In fact, I sent Ms. Du a letter, which she has not had the courtesy to respond to, where I showed photos, and I'm happy if you want to screen share, and I'd like everyone on this committee to see it, pictures of the park the exact same time on 2 days, 2 days apart, when there was sunshine and when there was no sunshine. And the day when it was sunshine, there's a line to get onto the swing. There are people, the benches were full, the tables were full. The day when it was overcast, it was complete. There was no one at those tables, and you could walk up and get on a swing. So Friends of St. Catherine's, or maybe they're the friends of the vegetation, but they're not friends. They're not representatives of the users of the park. And what this committee should be listening to are the people who use the park. And as I said, there's no mitigation, zero, for loss of sunlight. And if you want, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'd love to be able to screen share and show you the difference.
Marty, how's the best way that we can share it, particularly because it has to do with the impact on this development on St. Catherine's? Is there a way that we can share Marty, can you send the images to Will so that he can get them up, please?
I will send him my letter and he could just scroll through the letter. Yeah, I have a PDF. Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so as soon as that happens, Will, you can let us know. And thank you.
And just so you know, and anyone can share the pictures, I kept I think it's called the EIF information, so you could look at the data in the pictures and see it was the exact same time, 2 days apart. And you'll see how different it is when there's sunshine and when there's no sunshine. And that's what this committee should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to Elaine and other members of the board, do we have any other public members who'd like to say anything on the impact of this development on St. Catherine's Park? I know that people have spoken about this for a while, and trust me, I've also been reading through all of the testimony and I've been taking notes, so it's okay, but I just want to give everybody one more shot.
And a reminder, you can participate, as Trisha's indicating, by going to the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and pressing the raise hand button.
Okay,
Jordan.
And then I see Jordan.
Hi, I don't live near the park. We happened to stop there one day, and I was flabbergasted to see the lineup of children waiting for the swings, which has just been described. The comment was made that this was the largest number of visitors per square foot for any park, and I'm willing to believe it, but everything has to be done to make it as appealing as possible, and more shade would not be a good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. And then Elaine.
Thank you. I'm here speaking as a board member, but more importantly, as a lifelong resident of this community, born and raised in Yorkville. I am shocked by the behavior of the Friends of St. Catherine's Park. As former chair, and when I was co-chair of zoning, I attempted to find Elizabeth Du. Whereabouts unknown. Where's Waldo? Only recently have they come forward. I have been in touch with the Parks Department because of my concerns of the shadows and the disruption of the lives for seniors and children at St. Catherine's. I was authorized by the Parks Department to be able to say, it is the Parks Department that will negotiate with the Blood Center and Longfellow. However, I want to say that I'm going to say it's in fall, and I'm fuzzy, of 2019, could it be 2020? Anyway, in meeting with the applicant for the Blood Center commercial tower, they indicated they had been in extensive conversations with the people from St. Catherine's Park, and indeed a public member, Judith Schneider, talked about some of the mitigation. And indeed, what they said was they would mitigate. And I asked, how do you mitigate the loss of sunlight? They're going to do some kind of planting that can grow without sun. That's not our major concern in the park. This is not the botanical East Side Gardens. This is an area that has play space and sitting space. I don't mean to offend the elderly, but indeed most of us sit and don't go on a swing, to be able to enjoy the fresh air. This is vital. This is one of the gems of the area, because you have open space that can be shared by adults and children. We heard the other night the children's response. I am totally upset with the fact that there's a deference to the friends that we don't even know where they are and have not communicated. And Elizabeth Drew, for the second time, has said, I cannot stay on a Zoom because of my children's school. I have to tell you, we all have family obligations. Prioritize. This is a vital, vital component of our community. And I recommend that indeed people be able to reach out to Elizabeth Drew, not through the community board. That's not how it's always done. But I also want to say that I will recommend that the Parks Department, the Parks Committee take a position to oppose what the Blood Center commercial tower is doing to impact the life of the children and the seniors and everyone else who comes into the community that uses that park, whether you are a health victim or whatever, you have a right, and we have a right. And a commercial tower does not overrule what we as a neighborhood need to exist. And all of you who have family or relatives that have used it for one reason or another, talk to them about the importance of this park. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. So Elaine, I believe we just proposed a resolution. I want to give the other board members a chance to weigh in, but I also, so with respect, Elaine, I'm going to pause and let everybody else have their say, but
Absolutely.
Will just told me that he received Marty's pictures. So just because it directly relates to the impact on St. Catherine's Park. Will, can you show the two images, please? And then we'll go to the next board member. I think it's Felice, but I will double check.
Okay, let me know if you guys can see that.
We can. Thank you.
Okay, great.
So obviously this is, Marty, forgive me. I'm just going to tell me if I shake your head if I'm wrong, but this is obviously on a sunny day. On overcast. Again, on a sunny day. And on an overcast day. Great. Thank you so much, Will. Okay, we're gonna go to Felice and then Billy.
Thanks. I just wanted to say briefly that I spent a lot of time in St. Catherine's Park when my daughter was little. It's a great park. It's a great community resource, and having sunlight in the park really makes a huge difference. And so I just wanted to add the concerns about having the entire afternoon of the park cast in shadow. It does make a difference for the habitability, I guess, for lack of a better term, of the park. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Thanks, Felice. We have Billy next, and then Rita, and then Barbara.
So yeah, I think we should absolutely pass this resolution this evening. Thank you, Elaine, for proposing it. I guess one thing I'd be interested in including in the resolution is we've asked as a board before that Longfellow do outreach in the park and actually notify park goers about what's happening. I think when I asked Paul Selver this a month or two ago, he said, no, we haven't gone in the park and handed out pamphlets or whatever. I think that would be quite appropriate for us to urge them to do, because I'm really not happy with whatever outreach has been done to the park. And again, I think, a lot of us have questions about what does it mean that there have been discussions with Friends of St. Catherine's Park. And I don't like being, in the dark, so to speak, on this and having more questions than answers. So that's one thing I think we should, include. And then, I agree with including the DEIS information. I would also say maybe in our resolution, we should refer to George James's memo that he prepared for the board. And we should maybe, either quote from it or at least refer to it, because he makes it, I think, an important point here, which is he says, the combination of the day, time of year, and use make the loss of sunlight an even more significant impact than what is disclosed. I think that's, an important point to, convey in a resolution. And George is obviously a great authority on this stuff. So I just wanted to suggest that we make reference to that.
Great. Thank you, Billy. I appreciate it. We'll do Rita, Barbara, then Marco.
We fight so hard for every square of a park that when we have a park, we really can't give up any squares because we're fighting to get more. I know what it is to have a park that is not really used a lot because there's nothing in the park that makes it used. I mean, we don't have those benches that St. Catherine's Park has amenities that we don't have. But we might at some day. But it is, I don't even know why this is on the radar when for some people sitting in the park is the only daylight that they have in their lives. Their apartments, some people's apartments are very dark. Mm-hmm. So to cut off the life of people to build a tower, I find it mind-boggling. And I would like to, I don't know if I can, but I'd like to call the question on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Rita. I'm just want to give the other board members a chance to add language if they like to this resolution. And I want to make sure everybody has their chance to weigh in. So I will ask that if the board members have anything that's not been said already, please do bring it in before we call the question. So Barbara, then Marco, then Gail, please. And I'll apologize. I'm going to mute myself because of the baby crying in the background, but Barbara, Marco, then Gail.
I just want to say for the record, I am 100% for what every single person said. And in fact, the person that brought up the only 70%, I raised my hand to say, did I really hear the word only before the word 70? But there were 300 people in front of me and it was getting to be late already, so I didn't do it. I have a process question. I will absolutely vote for this, but I do have a question. Is there, are we bumping into the land use resolution that I assume we're going to have that will pass, if not unanimously close to it? If we have a different the resolution that Elaine proposed sounds like it's very similar to a resolution we would have in land use. Am I right about that? I mean, I would certainly go along with everybody. You have my yes vote if you want it. It's a
I don't
question
think-
and a half.
So I will, if you don't mind, I happily unmute Elaine as well on this, but I don't think that this is the problem. I think that this is specific, and I wanted to clarify that at the beginning.
No.
This is specifically to comment on the impact on St. Catherine's Park. We're the Parks Committee. We are not the zoning committee, and we are not land use. So our
Right.
comment would be
Okay,
limited to St.
Elaine, you don't even have to answer. I think unless you have something else to
Well,
say. I got
no.
my answer. Yeah.
What I want to say is the application before the community impacts all of the committees
That's right.
in the board. So to get support from each committee is very important as we move forward. So Barbara, I do think that it's extremely important that Parks weighs in on this, that the environmental committee.
I was going to say I'm co-chair of the Environment Committee. Come to us.
Well, no, I don't come to you.
I know. I will talk to Gus. Right.
You know,
I-
24/7.
Okay. I got my
not
answer.
doing it. So
I-
thank you for the question. And
Yeah.
Tricia, you're absolutely right. It's every committee adds to the support of what the land use, even though it's a committee of the whole, but it hears individually from those who are committed to a certain aspect of because of their expertise. And I think that's very important.
Thank you. Is it possible to add something about the friends of being more responsive or more, what's the word I want, transparent or anything like that? Or you'd want to add that, Elaine?
Now, I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but
Well, I think a lot of it is that we don't know what's, like there was sort of things going. It sounds like the lack of transparency with any, with the friends of is causing some problems also. And I don't know if that should be added. But
I have
again,
no
anything you
problem.
say, I go with.
Okay, I have no problem accepting what Billy has said and what you have said to put as warehouses. I think that makes it a stronger statement, and I thank you for really pulling together what the resolution is.
And I did love the only 70%. That was my favorite line of all those times that I listened.
Okay. We're gonna go to Marco and then I'm sorry, it's moving around to Marco, then Gail, and then Marty. We'll go back to public comments and you can make another statement. Go ahead, Marco.
Thank you. First of all, the light is non-negotiable, period. You cannot negotiate no an hour, no a minute, no 3 hours. Everybody knows when we design and we find that people get depressed, especially in winter time. Why? Because the days are shorter. And if we put shadows in the daylight, we create more problems to the community. The second part is there are proposals on repairs in this park. And I was in a couple of them. And I remember clearly that my opposition was that it has to create more greenery in the section and less fences, metal fences. And didn't show up, Mrs. Drew. Again, just only, I don't know how she created her own not-for-profit. I would like to ask a question. Who are the members? What is the names? Who are the people that oppose? So this question, they should be right here to respond and leave. But apparently she doesn't have no time because probably the questions will be very uncomfortable to answer. I believe that one of the biggest issues is not to put a couple of flowers for the shadows. You can go, anybody can go and buy it and put it. You don't need a landscape architect to have this kind of solution. We would like to have is the light, not the shadows. And therefore, I think we should oppose this proposal to create shadows in the park. And it has to maintain as a right of development. It cannot go more than that. As a right of development, they can have its own development, the development center without no problems. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do Gail and then Marty. Actually, I'm going to would like to say my own comments as a board member, and then we'll go back to Marty. So go ahead, Gail.
This is a major quality of life issue. It's not as if the parents and the seniors and other residents who use St. Catherine's Park can walk a couple of blocks away and find another place to go. We recognize that of all the districts, we have the least green space. We know that this is the second most heavily utilized park space in the city. And I wanted to echo what Barbara said. The lack of transparency, what appears to be St. Catherine's Friends or Friends of St. Catherine's Park speaking as if they are the policy group that is able to determine what is going to happen or not happen when it is the Parks Department. And based on what Elaine has said, I think the Parks Department should be in negotiations with the Blood Center. Why is it on the site that the Blood Center indicates that they're having the discussions with Friends of St. Catherine's Park rather than with the agency that is responsible for making the decisions? And I think we have to weave that into our resolution as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to add one more piece and then we'll go to Marty, and then if we'll see if we are ready to make a vote. I've been thinking a lot about St. Catherine's Park, and I think that's something that hasn't been said yet. It has been talking about what the park is right now. There is not a lot of green in this park to begin with. And so I think that particularly when we think about to Felice's point, making it hospitable and accessible and welcoming, the impact of the loss of light is dramatic. It feels even more dramatic than I mean, I don't think shadows anywhere really make a lot of help, but it makes it much more harsh. This is my park. I live on 72nd Street, so my son plays there. I hate that he plays in that sandbox, but he does. And we're there, and we were there for a birthday party last weekend. We'll be there for another birthday party in 2 weeks from now. It's where Teddy will have his next birthday party. It's our park. And I agree that depending on the light on the day, it does make a big difference in whether or not we decide to go there or we decide to go to the Esplanade or some other area. So I thank everybody, but I would just add that I think that the actual kind of characteristics of St. Catherine's Park, which is a lot of concrete and a lot of hard surfaces, just makes for a very dark place when it comes to shadows. It's not the same. It's not really the same thing as shadows in like a garden or something like that, which would be a whole other set of issues. But it makes it very cold very quickly. Okay, so we said Wes. I'm sorry, Marty. I just see you, Wes. Are you looking to comment on this as well? Oh no.
Yeah, I just had a statement, but I mean, we can wait till the end if you want. But I just wanted to have a brief statement as far as the Parks Department on this.
Okay, we're gonna try to wrap this up here pretty quickly here. So we'll go Marty and then Gail. Is your hand raised because you'd like to make another statement? Oh, Gail's looking to call the question. So and Rita's looking to call the question as well. So we'll let Marty and Marcos call the question. So Marty, you get the final word. Then we'll go to Wes to give us a statement, and then we will call the question.
Thank you, Tricia. I really appreciate your leadership on this. One of the things I was going to say, Gail just mentioned, but just to put it in specifics, this park is the only park north of the bridge and south of John Jay between the river and Fifth Avenue. There is on the Friends of the Upper East Side a great map showing how you can go a mile around and there's no other park. So that's important. The other is, Ms. Du said that they had 3 concerns and then they added a 4th. One of the concerns was where they talk about sunlight, they limit it. It's sort of like a self-serving way to try and not address the real issue. They said they limited the shadows during the summer. And if you look at the shadow impact, it's really, it's important to look at the times. It's all up until June and it's after, it's in the fall, which coincidentally is the time that it's used by the school kids in JREC and over at 183, and that's totally ignored. So they have this sort of self-serving limitation on looking on the shadows. And the other thing is, I understand this is the Parks Committee and you're looking at it in the interest of the park, but I would at least to keep in the back of your mind the impact of what these shadows also do to JREC next door, where it puts it in shadows all day long. And I say that because I'll end quickly with 2 quotes from St. Catherine of Siena, who on the Friends website, they quote for her brilliance. One thing she said was, it's impossible to fill the law concerning the love of God apart from the law concerning love of your neighbors. So please think when you vote about the kids in JREC. And the other quote from St. Catherine of Siena, and it's as if she's speaking directly to each member of this committee: start being brave about everything, drive out darkness and spread light. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Okay, Wes.
Would you unmute Wes, please?
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, one thing I'd like to mention as well, somebody mentioned there wasn't any other parks over there, but 24 Sycamores and the Haskell Green is generally within a mile of that area north of the bridge. But that's not really what I wanted to speak about. Specifically, I wanted to mention from the parks statement is that New York City Parks, as the City Environmental Quality Review expert agency for the open spaces resources, was asked to review the open space and shadows chapters of the DEIS, the Department of Environmental Impact Statement. New York City Parks has expressed concerns to the Department of City Planning, concerns of the shadow cast by the project would negatively affect the plannings and activities of the parks. Thus, we agree with the conclusion of the DEIS shadows chapter that the shadows of the proposed project would lead to a significant adverse impact to St. Catherine's Park. So just wanted to let everybody's in the committee know what the park's response is officially for this issue, and that's the statement that they wanted to put out.
Okay. Thank you, Wes. I took a lot of notes, and Elaine, I'm going to try to summarize what has been said. But the resolution that's on the floor right now is to oppose the proposed blood center development with specific regards to its impact on St. Catherine's Park. We will talk about the 70% of shadows that would cast the park in shadows, not only during the amounts, but during the time of year and the time of day. We will talk about the fact that there is no mitigation for these shadows. We will talk about the lack of sufficient outreach to the park. We will talk about the increased park usage, light pollution as well. We will talk about the physicality of this park and it's in the shadows impact on a very concrete metal-based playground. We will talk about the need for more transparency from St. Catherine's, and we will talk about And we will make reference to George Jane's comments. We will also, excuse me, I'm just looking at my notes to make sure. We will talk about the impact on seniors in this park, and that it's not just children, but it's also seniors. And we will talk, I think that's mostly it, but I'll go back and look at more. That's it.
Tricia, if I might jump in, please. The resolution has stated I cannot support the reference to the transparency or the need for transparency in Catherine's Park is an ad hominem argument. It does not go to the heart of the question about the impact of the building on the park. It is an attack on a group of women, or men and women, I should say, who are involved daily with the well-being of the entire park facility. And I think it's a cheap shot to drag that in when it has no bearing on the nature of what the resolution set out to state. Thank you.
So let me just ask, it'll go back to, because this is the resolution that was proposed by Elaine, it will go back, if Elaine wants to separate that out, we can propose a separate resolution that addresses St. Catherine's Park, or if Elaine wants to keep it in, then it'll go to a vote. And so Elaine, would you like to keep that in, or would you like to separate that out?
I will accept everything that the board members added to it, except what Barry has said. And I am asking for a review, and I know this will be controversial, of the position of Barry since his wife is board of St. Catherine's Park, and therefore a conflict. I will not add in, nor accept what Barry has added. I think a number of people here have already expressed the lack of transparency from St. Catherine's Park, the Friends of St. Catherine's Park. I'd like to move on what I put. If there's a first and a second, I don't even know. I put a motion in. I think there's a second waiting. And then if Barry wants to add something, that's fine, but not in the motion that I put in.
Okay. So I want to focus on the resolution that's on the floor. The resolution that's on the floor has right now a line about calling on more transparency from St. Catherine's Park. That's the resolution that's on the floor right now, and we'll see what if that goes for. We'll see. Do we have a second for that resolution? There's a second for.
It was seconded already.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for everybody's hands to go down. For me for a second while we do that, because that's the procedural piece. So those against this resolution, please raise your hand.
This is only for board members.
Yeah, I apologize. This is just for board members, so I'm not sure who M is, but unless you're a board member.
Nope.
Okay, Barry, this is for no, not voting for cause, or abstaining.
No.
Thank you. And then Judy Schneider is a public member. Judy, you'll have to unmute.
Not voting for cause.
Thank you. And Felice, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to ask for clarification. So the comment about the Friends of St. Catherine's Park is only a question about transparency. It's not a critique of them, right? I just wanted to clarify that.
No, this is a resolution that is primarily focused, and I would hope that it stays focused on the impact of the blood center on St. Catherine's Park. And so the line, as I plan on shaping it, would be about St. Catherine's Park and more transparency in the dialogue that has or has not happened between the Blend Center and St. Catherine's Park.
Okay, so I support the resolution.
Okay.
Okay, again, hands up right now, or you're voting no, not voting for cause, or needing to abstain. So Barbara Rudder, you have your hand up.
I thought we were still adding something. I was just going to say, can you add a whereas where the Parks Department also agrees with what we're
Oh, I
saying?
apologize. That's the
Yeah.
line that I missed before. Yes, that will be included.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I am definitely yes for this.
Thank you. And then Marco.
Yes, I'm in the same direction of Barbara. I think we have to put very careful in the way that the state was explaining that this is the Parks Department are concerned the negative impact. This is extremely important. Thank you so much. But I'm support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Trisha, I'm just going to read the names of the board members as I see them. And if anybody I miss, please raise your hand. But so it's Trisha and Barry, Barbara Rudder, Billy Freeland, Elaine Walsh, Felice Farber, Gail Barron, Judy Schneider, public member, Marco Tamayo, and Rita Popper. Did I miss any board member during that vote? Please raise Takako. And Takako
Oh, yeah.
Kono.
No, I support the resolution.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure. And sorry, I missed you.
No worries.
Okay.
Anyone else? Great.
So before we move on to the next topic, I want to talk about the other piece to this and a larger role about friends of groups. I just want to clarify again that unfortunately or fortunately, whatever depends on how you view it, this committee and community boards do not have oversight over friends of groups. I take everybody's concerns very seriously, and I will talk to our board chair and others about how or if this is a role for the community board. But I want to make sure that everybody understands that that this board and this committee has tried to work we always look at all as all neighbors as hopeful partners in trying to take care of our parks and open spaces. We're not an oversight group when it comes to this. We are all volunteers, but I do recognize that there are some concerns, and we'll find the best way to move ahead with those. I'm not ignoring those comments, but really it's just a question of what our jurisdiction actually is when it comes to this sort of thing. So Barbara, unless you have anything else to add to that, I want to try to move us to the next topic because I know we still have a long agenda to hit. Will, can you hit?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to add, can you phrase it such that you would like the Longfellow to be more transparent in what his negotiations with St. Catherine's Park, or maybe put it a slightly different way? I think it's very important because we don't know what deals are, if deals are being made, I shouldn't say what, but what exactly is being said. There could be rumors and so on. So I think that's something about transparency is important, but
Sure.
you can figure out how to do it. That's it.
Barbara, excuse me, the vote has been taken, it's been announced. I would think you're going to have to move on. You can't go back to the resolution that we just passed.
Sorry, you're right, Barry. Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Okay.
Oh,
So
let me take the next one, please.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sure. We want to discuss the use of, I'm sorry, pool. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Discussion of summer 2021 pool usage. I think that's Wes.
This is, I'm just going to say very quickly, this is brought up to us. So the next item is about our pool usage. Obviously last summer, we really suffered from lack of access to our public pools. This was brought to us by one of our neighbors in the area who's very close to John Jay, about trying to get ahead of this. If you haven't been to John Jay recently, let me just tell you, the pool looks like it hasn't been touched in 2 years, which is accurate. So Wes was hoping to get from you some information about what the status is of public pool usage for 2021, and then to dial into some details about how hopefully we can open up our pools while keeping, of course, everybody's public safety a priority.
Sure, I'd love to answer some of that. This is hopefully everyone can hear me, but I'm pleased to announce that Parks is expecting to open up all of its pools with the exception of and excuse me if I forget them all, but like Lasser at Central Park, which is under Capitol. We have a few parks there. It's Central Park and on the west side that are under capital repairs. But however, for Community Board 8 and also 11 and 6, which has most of your parks on the east side, we expect all those pools to be open. We're prepared to move forward, and we have our budget, seasonal budget approved, and so we expect to have our pools open on time, on schedule. We do not know all the details as far as we will be following all CDC guidelines. So we don't know if there'll be any restrictions of how many people can be in the pools, and that information could change, but of what it is. So that's kind of fluid. But as far as operating our pools and having them open for the summer, we're moving forward and we expect them to be open.
Just a follow-up question, Wes. Our pools, specifically at John Jay, clearly need to be at least recovered, or at least printed, like painted over. It's a mess over there. Is that also our plans to repaint the pool and resurface the pool on track before the summer season starts?
I'd have to check with them to see if they'd be able to resurface it. I know that they're looking to do a lot of painting and a lot of prep work in the pool area. We've already been doing a lot of prep work and preparations inside of John Jay. We really have that area looking very nice. We will be utilizing a lot of labor force in preparation of John Jay, but as far as resurfacing it, I'm not sure if we'll have a frame, but I'd have to look into that. I'm not aware of the resurfacing the pool, but I can check into that and get back to you.
Okay, I just wanted to, I mean, I am not a pool expert, but just from visual looks of it, it looks like there needs to be some work done. And I just want to make sure that we're not delayed in any way of opening up that space.
Currently, as far as opening up, we're not under any delays, and it's a typical labor or details that we have to do every season and to most of our pools. So we've already made a punch list of everything that needs to be done, and our crews are working forward to accomplishing that task.
Great. 2 more questions for you. One is one proposal that has been brought to us has been this idea of installing outdoor showers in order to allow people to rinse off before going into the pool instead of forcing everybody to use the locker rooms, which would be, of course, an enclosed space where people would likely have their masks off because of the shower situation. Has the Parks Department considered installing any sort of outdoor showering systems? I don't know if there's any space to do so here, but just wanted to flag that. And I'll ask you the second question too. I actually didn't realize that this was the case, but I didn't realize that the entrance and admission into the pools was based on height, not on age. And so we've heard from folks that you have some very tall but very young minors who are entering into our pools unattended. And I wanted just some clarity about the park's decision to use height versus age, or, accompanied by an adult as a way of entering the pools instead of, based on like what went into the admissions decision for how we figure that out.
You may have me a little bit. I don't know all the details of the rules, but I can tell you that most of our public pools rules are basically set forth by New York State and the New York Department of Health. And so we have supervision and staff at the front doors and also on the pool decks to ensure that those rules are enforced according to code. For those specific items that you mentioned, I'm not very familiar with them, so I don't want to get too far deep in the weeds and misinform anyone, because to be honest, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I'll look into them and can get back to you. But as far as I know, most of the public pool rules are like I said, set forth by the New York State and by the New York Department of Health.
Okay, I'll send you an email and we can see if there's any more information we can get there. Rita.
Now this is going to sound draconian, but it is working in Europe. Can we require proof of vaccination to come into the pool because people will not be using their masks? And that would be a protective measure.
I mean, it's a good question, Rita. It's not something I'm going to be able to address at this point in time. That's why I simply say that we're going to follow whatever the CDC and whatever the mayor or the city of New York determines to be appropriate at that time. As we know, it changes constantly based upon the infection rate or whatever it might be or whatever the situation is. So it's hard to say we know where we hope to be and we're on a good path, but to say whether there's no plans at this point in time that I know of to do that. There wasn't. We had some pools open last year and they didn't have that, so I don't see that being an issue. It's an outdoor space, but then again, that's not going to be something that's going to be determined probably even at a parks level. That's something that's going to be determined at a higher level, either mayoral or through the governor of New York to determine what.
Thank you.
Goes there. Sure.
Any other questions about pool usage? I know it's a little early, but thank you, Wes. We just want to make sure that we're all set for the summertime.
Well, the good news is I believe we will. We will definitely have pools open. And again, I know there's a few details that we all don't know, but the good news is I think we're in a much better position than we were last year. So we're very thankful for that. And I think the communities and the youth will definitely enjoy this summer in our parks and our pools.
I hope so. That sounds great. Great. Thank you. Okay, Barry, do you want to take the next item?
Sure, thank you. We're going back to Wes. Wes, the item is discussion of private use of public pools. Will you tell the group what triggered this request, this item on the agenda? What were we concerned about?
I'm sorry, Barry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I asked you, we put this on the agenda, but I'd like you to tell us what it was that triggered this inquiry or discussion.
I'm guessing it. I really don't know. I'm guessing it may have been with the Rupert Park.
Yes, it's the use of Rupert Park by a private school. But I thought I'd give you the headway on that one.
Thank you, Barry. I'm sorry. I'm not great at reading clues, but yes, there has been some signage posted at some of our parks of private usage of our parks. Basically, with the City of New York and Parks Department has been working with all different schools, both public and private, to try to provide space during this COVID time, an open space and out in the air for a safe environment for the schools to be used in education purposes. Although in some cases we do believe that some people are taking advantage of that, maybe in modifying and changing our signage and not presenting it quite the way the Parks Department wants to. So in these cases, we're looking into them and we'll be addressing that with the individuals if we feel that that they have used it in the wrong manner. And that's about the best that I can say that, but for that issue.
Well, let me flesh that out, because Wes has been, you're a great dancer, Wes, but we don't want to dance around the issue. The issue is very clear. There was a poster put in Rupert Park that read, as part of the New York City Outdoor Learning Initiative, the Gillian Brewer School will be using Rupert Park Playground for exclusive use on Mondays and Wednesdays between the hours of 9 and 12, beginning Wednesday, April 14th, during 2021. During this time period, only students from the Gillian Brewer School will be allowed to enter Rupert Park Playground. Please see City of New York Parks and Recreation permit attached. And from my looking into this issue, that statement, which I just read, which is published on their poster that was posted in the park, was created not by the city park department licensing operation, but by the applicant itself in violation of the rules of the Parks Department. Did I get that right, Wes?
You're pretty close to it. I mean, they do have a permit to use the park. Is my understanding that it doesn't provide exclusive use. It does allow them to use the playground area. That is true. They added an amendment to the top of and used our permit and added some information to the top. And so that's what we'll be addressing with the schools. And we'll be investigating and discussing it with the schools, but that's not exactly the way the permit is written.
Thank you. Rita.
Rita. Will, can you unmute? Okay.
This is the first that I've heard of it, but I just want you to know that the Gilliam School is for children who have learning disabilities. The entire school is that way, and many of the children are in wheelchairs. So I hope that you keep that into consideration.
We do. We're basically saying that we are working with the schools and trying to provide them with the space. But basically, we're just stating that we didn't necessarily expect them to have exclusive use. But obviously, our concern is for schools, all the schools, various schools, to have a safe place for them to have outdoor education. So that is true. We are working with schools, and we are trying to provide space. But specifically, they added on and put it on the platform.
Let me be clear, the community board, the Parks Committee particularly, is in very strong support of the city outdoor learning initiative. What we objected to was the overreaching which this school did to exclude the use of the park for anyone other than themselves, which was not what the Park Department intended. Thank you.
I'm just gonna add, so we received this concern from a neighbor who uses the park, and I think that this is just the situation when you live in a community that doesn't have enough park space, where it gets tight and there's not a lot of we all have to figure out how to share. So with this, we have a situation where, because there's not a really good, I mean, we found out when we saw the sign, so there's no way to alert the community who otherwise use that park, particularly right now when parents are working from home and their kids are stuck inside. There's no way to inform them that all of a sudden Rupert's just without access on 2 days of the week. So it's both the when they have access as well as like the communication, and I think it brings up a larger issue of just the lack of ability for anybody to really understand when a space is not going to be available, particularly open space that's otherwise is available. I don't expect us to find a solution to that bigger problem tonight, but it is, as we think about this initiative continuing, and as other, school groups, which absolutely we want to make sure that they have access to open space, are using the park space, and maybe they do need it exclusively for some time. It's just then we have to think about how we communicate that to the broader community who also relies on that space. I think Rita's got something else.
Rita, you have something?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know I was unmuted. The park is used on a daily basis by the nursery schools that are around here. I think we have about 3 nursery schools within across the street on 92nd Street and right here on 91st Street. They use the park, and perhaps I'm just guessing, and I shouldn't, but it's something to look into, is that maybe the Gilliam School wanted to be assured that they could use the park on certain days, that those children can all run around and the Gillian children can't. They are quite, they're overprotected. They're older. They are older than nursery school, but they are visibly different and challenged. So I just wanted to add that layer in.
Thank you, Rita. Is there anything else on this issue, or we can move to the update from Wes? Okay, seeing no one's hand. Wes, the microphone is yours.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. And I'd like to say it's great to see everyone tonight on Zoom. And we've been really busy in our Parks Department. We're expecting probably one of the busiest summers that we've ever had before. We're in a much better position, as I said earlier, than we were at this time last year. And we're very pleased to announce that our pools will be opening and that our permit usage and park usage is probably doubled, if not quadrupled in this year compared to previous years, and especially of last year, which we saw a higher usage during the pandemic. However, we still continue to see that. We're still having our permits are increased due to people who want to have birthday parties, and we're trying to accommodate that. People are still not necessarily having everybody in their homes, and people are still working out in the parks, which is good. We are noticing an increase in, we'll say, how much garbage that we are pulling out of our parks. The good news is that we're currently in a transition period, so it's kind of a little challenging right now. We're having staff getting prepared to go to the pools, and we are bringing in new staff from our summer seasonal. So that's why I say we're in a transition. But fortunately, we were approved for our seasonal budget, and we are bringing in staff. So probably for the next month or the next 6 weeks will be very challenging as we have those staff pulling off the training and training new staff that's coming in. So bear with us there. But we look forward to hopefully having additional staff this year, something that we haven't had in a long time. And once we get up to full capacity, once we get up to open, I hope that we'll have be able to meet the challenges that we've been having over the last year or so with the increased usage. So briefly with some of the updates with our capital, I'd like to mention too that on Thursday, May the 20th, we're going to be holding a community input meeting with Council Member Kalos to discuss the renovation of Rupert Park. That'll be held next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And we'll be sending more information to that to the community board so that they can give a link to the community so they can attend to that if they'd like to. Also like to announce that the renovation of the East River Esplanade between 68 and 70th Street will be beginning next Monday on May the 17th. That area, we expect it to take up to a year, and that area will be closed off for up to a year. So we apologize for the inconvenience there, but it'll be for some much needed improvements in that area. So we're very pleased with that. And then also another big issue was John Jay. We talked about the pools, but also many of you know that there's a site, the sitting area next to John Jay was a capital project. And we made arrangements with the contractor, and they will begin that at the end of the pool season. So it won't interfere with our summer pool season at John Jay, but it will begin construction of John Jay sitting area immediately following our pool season. So the very day that we drain the water out of the pool, we will start making improvements in the sitting area of John Jay. So 24 Sycamore also is on schedule and moving forward, and we're doing well in there, and it's expected in August. So with that, that's the updates. And if anybody's got any questions for me, I'll try to address them best I can.
Tricia.
I think Rita was first, and then Barbara, and then I got some questions for you, Wes.
Sure.
I forgot to unmute. I forgot to take my hand down. I don't have any.
Great. So then Barbara.
I'd like to know the status. I don't know how many years ago, but it was when we were face to face. We talked about redoing that John Finley area, and specifically the Brearley School. Is anything happening with that? That's been, what, a couple of years probably that we voted on it.
Wes, I don't know if she's referring to it's called the pier, but it's not a pier anymore. It's the spot right on 83rd Street on, right, that's got the covering area. The Brearley School had proposed redoing the terrible underpassage of that, which is filled with pigeons and broken netting. We did approve a design that was like lighted and had planters and things like that, but that was, you're right, Barbara, it was around 2 years ago and I haven't seen any.
We were face to face. That's how I do BC and AC.
Yeah. Wes, if you don't have any upgrades on that, maybe we can reach out to the Brearley School and see if we can get them to give us an update on it.
And what about that John Finley? Wasn't that supposed to be done along the John Finley?
That's the same project, I believe.
I thought it went even further than that. Okay. Good, thanks.
Yes, I'm not aware we don't have anything on our capital tracker for that specific area. I definitely know that there was some planting area done underneath the pedestrian bridgeway that goes under kind of that general area, but I don't know if that's the same area you're talking about.
No, this was at Brearley School. There's the Brearley School has like the bridge over it. You talk about shadows. You walk under like a bridge. That's their outdoor playground, I think. I think it's part of their playground on the second floor. I'll meet you one day, Wes, and I can show you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have anything with that for that. But,
okay, we'll reach out to Brearley and see if we can get an update. That's a great idea, Barbara. Wes, just I just feel like we're never gonna finish this railing on the pedestrian bridge, but what's everybody, I didn't CC the whole committee on this, but it seems like the railing on the frankly brand new 81st Street pedestrian ramp on the Esplanade going from the upper portion to the lower portion. We got it done less than 5 years ago. It broke during the pandemic to be just this kind of flimsy metal thing on the obstruction on the ground. I know that your parks folks, Wes has been great at keeping us updated on where they are in repairs, but even though they said they repaired it, we saw pictures, I texted you pictures of it being duct taped to the side of the railing. Do we have a status update on where this repair is for the Esplanade rail?
yes, it's on their list. They had a backlog of work to do. As I mentioned to you, their portable welder went down. That was first on their list to try to come back. That is one area of it, though. The hand railing is up. The duct tape is not actually holding it. Duct tape is really there to prevent anybody from cutting themselves on any piece of the metal there. They will come back to it. We do have a work order in place to come and tackle all that a little bit better. The original design, which was not designed by Parks Department, really didn't provide enough support for the handrail. So we're in the process of each time we go out there to repair it, we try to put additional support to the hand railing. And that area that you had photographed is one of those areas that needs basically a new support to properly hold up the hand railing and hopefully reduce it from. The problem is if people sit on it, if they bike ride on it, or they put weight on it unusually, it can pop it off. So our goal is to try to add support to that hand railing, and we have a work order in place and they will get to it. It's hard to say exactly when they'll get to it because of their backlog of work, but we do have a work order in place and they will get to it.
And what's the status on the hole on 79th Street and the Esplanade? The sinkhole that's seems to be growing bigger every 2 months.
The sinkhole, we reported it to the Department of Environmental Protection. We're trying to hopefully see if they can help us with that situation because we do believe it is an outflow outtake. But also too, we have flagged that to attention of our engineers, and they're looking at trying to investigate it further They investigated it one time when they did some repairs. And they're looking at investigating it again, maybe digging up some of the cobblestones and looking at down at it further. But so that's pretty much what we got as far as just investigating it and see what kind of condition it is in and what repairs would be needed in that area.
I guess I'm just a little frustrated and nervous, frankly, because spring's already here. Summer is just around the corner. We're going to see increased use on the Esplanade like none other. And that little section of both the railing that just apparently was broken from the very beginning, and that growing sinkhole just seemed like a recipe for disaster. If God forbid we have a collapse this summer, I will bet money that it's going to be there, because it's just, even in the last few months, it just seems to be growing a little bit bigger. So I just don't know what else we can be doing right now to be putting, and I guess I look to the committee to like be telling me what else we can be doing, because I feel like we need to be doing more so that we, one, preserve everybody's safety, but two, we make sure that we don't have yet another collapse right at the peak of summer, when we can't afford to lose any more of the Esplanade. We're already going to lose it at 68th and 70th Street for God knows how long. So it's going to be, it's just going to be something that's going to be an unusable space if we let it get any worse here. And if I remember correctly, I mean, I don't know where the money's going to come from for you guys to fix the railing, because that was a project that should have been done right the first time 5 years ago. And then with 79th Street, every time we hear updates about Esplanade projects, 79th Street is not one of them, is not in the next phase of repairs. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to hold, I mean, Stacy, I know, is on this call too from Friends. I don't know if we want to think about a letter, or if we want to think about some sort of resolution, or we want to bring this up in some other way, but I want to flag it. We've literally been here before. I remember doing the same thing. I remember standing in front of this committee before COVID, BC times, as Barbara said, and saying, hey, look at this other sinkhole. And that sure enough was where the collapse happened last time. And I just feel like I'm doing the same thing here at 79th Street. In between 79th Street and 81st Street, we have two serious problems that just aren't getting fixed. So,
Tricia, I'd like to suggest something you mentioned. Let's have the board office, let's have Russell send a letter outlining our concerns and give the history of how we've called it to their attention repeatedly and nothing has been done, and our fear that a catastrophic collapse could occur if it's continued to be ignored.
okay. I'm fine with that. I'll send a letter to Russell and we'll get going on that. Thank you, Barry.
Good. Anyone else? Tricia, it's your call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one more note, and this isn't, thank you, Wes, for coming. And I know that you're doing, Wes, for what it's worth, I so appreciate you are always so responsive. I text you, I call you, you always respond to us. So thank you. Thank you for taking a lot of heat and for being here. I appreciate it.
Me too.
And I just wanted to mention to everybody on the call for Rupert Park, there's going to be the Muslim Volunteers of New York is going to have a cleanup on May 22nd. They are finally able to have more volunteers than the last time. They've moved from 10 to 50 volunteers for the whole day. It is a beautiful time. It's kind of gross because there's a lot of rats in Rupert, but it's also a wonderful experience to be out there and to be planting bulbs and to just be cleaning up a space that just desperately needs it. So you can talk to Will, or you can talk to me or Barry to sign up for Saturday. It starts at 10 o'clock and I think it goes till 12 or 2.
Okay. With that, I'd like to move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? I see 3, 4, 5, 17 hands. Wonderful. All right, that being the case, good evening, good night, everyone. Stay well. Enjoy the spring weather we're enjoying now, and we'll see you next month. Thank you. Good evening.